Hello and welcome once again to Crazy Comics and Stories. It's me, your charming and delightful old Uncle Rat Bastard. And at the other end of the series of tubes and wires that we call the internets is Joe, Crazy Writer. How you doing today, Joe?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you doing, Cory?
I'm doing well. We have a special guest.
We do? I need a drink for that. Hang on a second.
I already had a couple of them for you, man.
Well, I better have another one. I've got to catch up.
Special guest, please sign in and give your name to the studio audience.
Hello, studio audience. This is the one and only Adam Vermillion from the Panels and Pizza podcast.
And pizza free, I might add. Not that I'm bitter.
Pizza free? I had pizza earlier today.
You're like Cory with pie. You just don't share unless you get an interview out of it.
Oh, well, if somebody wanted to drive 5.5 hours south and visit me, I would totally share.
Well, considering how long it took Cory to get this here podcast set up and get home,
Hey!
To do that.
It's not my fault they called mandatory overtime.
You want to know something about Parkview, Iowa? No traffic.
That's because there's no people.
A few cows, though.
Wait, don't you work from home anyway?
I do.
How homely. Which is nice because he can drink on the job.
I can. They'll never know.
Well, I can drink on this job. I just choose not to. Because we've had problems with that in the past.
So I work with people in both Europe and Asia, so it's definitely proof that it's always 5 o'clock somewhere.
There is that. And in Amsterdam, it's always 4:20.
Yeah.
Well, we got together for a very special purpose.
Intervention for me?
Yes, Adam, this is an intervention. We're going to talk about the ways that you've hurt us.
Oh, Jesus.
No. We're going to talk about a very special holiday in the hearts of comic book people.
Festivus? Wait, that ain't for a few months yet.
No, that's a very special holiday in the hearts of everyone across the world. But for comic book fans,
birthday?
Religious.
What are we supposed to do for your birthday?
No, Jack Kirby's birthday.
Well, Jack Kirby's birthday, I'm trying to start a thing where you read comic books in public.
Ah.
But no, it's a free comic book day was this weekend. And it was prom.
Oh, nobody asked me.
Oh, we'll get to that.
Okay.
How ominous.
But it was free comic book day, which started in what year?
I don't know. I ain't got Wikipedia loaded.
Adam, do you know?
2000?
2002.
Oh.
With the release of the Spider-Man movie.
I knew it was either Spider-Man or X-Men.
It was the Spider-Man movie, and Marvel gave away Ultimate Spider-Man #1 at theaters that whole weekend. And I think they gave away like over 2 to 3 million copies over that weekend.
And a fat lot of good it did.
The book sold for quite a long time.
That it did.
Almost, 240 issues that series went before ending last week.
Yeah.
That's a lot better than Spidey 2099.
You're such a hater.
Or Kickers Incorporated.
Oh.
Or
anything that published by DC in the 70s.
Or Motormouth. Or trying to think of some of the other classic bombs that Marvel has had over the years. But
Robotics.
Ooh.
I was going to say Solar Man, but I think Robotics beats that.
The Marvel, they tried a digital line before there were digital comics. It was just supposed to be digital heroes. It was Warlock, Deathlock, and somebody else. And they all died within 9 issues.
Lifelock.
Died? I didn't even know they were sick.
But no, a free comic book day. It's been going for going for 16 years now. And Joe and I have a tradition that we do. But first, because Adam wasn't up here,
No.
he's now in the hinterlands.
In the cow patties.
The cow pastures of America. Adam, what did you do for Free Comic Book Day?
All right. Well, I now live just north of the Quad Cities, which, for those of you not in the know, is Davenport and Bettendorf, Iowa, and Rock Island and Moline, Illinois. So what I did for Free Comic Book Day is, instead of just relaxing and staying at home, no, I decided the best thing to do would be to go out and hit all 8 shops spread amongst the Quad Cities. So I feel very fortunate that I doubled my cities and have a plethora of shops to go to.
Ooh, plethora.
Plethora, that's the SAT word for the day.
Yes. Now...
So, yeah, I went out, and I was gone all day.
And now, did all of the shops have something special going on?
Not all of them, no. One of them was actually closed the day the owner had a stroke recently, so they were shut down. So Dave at Funtime Collectibles, wish him all the best. Hope he's doing okay. Everybody had something, be it one shop had like 2 books, and that was it. They'd gotten in they'd gotten in the Marvel Rising and the Amazing Spider-Man books, and some of the others had everything, or maybe not everything, but a lot of books. It was a good day for the most part. I had some mishaps along the way, When you sit down and you think, yeah, I'm going to be gone for 6 to 7 hours, that's a really good idea. It can't all be good. So at one point, as I was driving, I don't know what happened, but my Diet Coke exploded all over my car stereo.
Oh, that is not good.
And the stereo wouldn't work for a little bit. But once it seemed to dry out, it started working again, and it gave me an opportunity to make a joke about bukkake.
Oh! Now, here's the thing. With that, did you put your car in a bag of rice to dry out?
No, but leaving it sit in the sun seemed to be okay. It was about 80 degrees here on Saturday. So after spending about 45 minutes in Mellow Blue Planet, which is one of the better shops in the area, whatever it needed to be to get fixed, it was fixed. So I got back in the car, and the radio worked again, and the CDs worked again. So I'll take that as a win, because my radio was working.
As well, so. You should.
Yes. But no, I went out, I made a loop. I started at Midwest Collectibles, which of the 8 shops in the area was the only one I hadn't been to yet. And it was one I had like the lowest expectations of, just because they also sell baseball cards. So I didn't know what I was getting into when I went in. But out of all the stores I went to, they were the only one that asked me if I wanted to set up a pull list.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And I was like, well, no, I'm just, I didn't want to be like, well, I have pull lists elsewhere, because I do, but I was just like, no, I'm just in today to check out things.
Pooch some free comics.
Yeah, grab some free comics. And I did spend a little cash in there, too, since they were my first stop, and they had a lot of the free comic book offerings. I left with a large stack of the free books, and picked up a full run of the Unstoppable Wasp for my girlfriend. So
I love that book. I love that book.
I haven't read it, but they had all 8 issues for a good price. So I was like, oh, it's too good to pass up, and talked to the owner a little bit, and they had just started a new service where they'll send your books off to CBCS for grading for I think it was $14 for an 11-week turnaround time and $22 for a 6-week. So that seemed pretty reasonable if you want to get your books graded. So yeah, I started there, tried to go to Funtime Collectibles. They were closed because of the owner's stroke. Hit up Superstars and Superheroes, which is one of the older locations in the Quad Cities. They weren't really doing a whole bunch for Free Comic Book Day. That was the location that only had the 2 books available. And then they had a rack of other free books, but it looked like they were kind of like the leftovers from whatever the Halloween promotion is that's done every year now.
Well,
and
now, do you have any special rituals other than, baptizing your radio when you go on a road trip?
No. Well, for the last, almost 20 years, I'd been in the Twin Cities, so it was just to go out and hit a couple of shops and, maybe by 4 o'clock in the afternoon, finally brave the waters at the source, because they're usually insanely busy. But for the most part, it would just be hit Hot Comics, hit Comic Book College, hit the source, talk to some of the creators who are at these shops doing signings and sketches and catch up with them. And that's find someplace really cool to eat. And that's usually been my tradition.
Joe just made some money.
Oh, yeah. eBays are always working there.
Now, Joe and I have rituals.
Okay.
The first one is, if I'm going on a road trip of any kind, now that we have Tim Hortons, I must buy Timbits. So I got off work at 6:30 in the morning, came home, got cleaned up, because I doubt Joe wanted to have me in his car after I've been at the group home for 12 hours. And got cleaned up, drove by Tim Hortons on Lake Street, and then got over to Joe's around 9 o'clock, and then Joe attempted to kill me.
I did. Now, Adam, how much Cory loves Omnibus. It says, Omnibuy?
Omnibuy.
Omnibuses.
So you must realize he probably has a pretty good muscle tone built up from lifting them around, because every time tornado season comes around, Cory just shifts them to one side of his house, so therefore it doesn't go airborne.
I think so, since one of them weighs about the same as a pony.
However, I did find something that could conceivably take out the Strode. I found myself a Wolverine adamantium collection that weighs in at a whopping 18 pounds.
Jesus.
What the hell is that?
6.5 inches tall by 12 1/4. It has in it, if I can get the, let's see. It's got Origins 1 through 4. Marvel Comics presents 72 to 84. Uncanny X-Men 162, 205, 268. Wolverine 1 through 4. The I think it's the 87 series, the 88 series, number 75. And 119 to 122. It's got Wolverine 32 from the 2003 series, and Wolverine and the X-Men 1 through 3. So these are big books. They've done it a few other ones. They've done an X-Men. They've done a few other ones. Now, I have to ask one question. Have you seen the Avengers yet, Adam?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Okay. If you ever try to take Cory out with an adamantium collection, you should have gone for the head. He survived.
I survived, and then we picked up Butch.
Whoa! Don't be so quick here, Strode, because you never asked me what I'm going to do with this here adamantium collection.
I thought it was a given that you would put it down in the basement with all the other treasures.
This is actually going to be at the charity store that my family's running at MSP Comic Con 2018, which is, as this podcast drops, a mere 5 days from now. And of course, it's going to be awesome. You can get I don't know if advanced tickets are still going. Head over to mcbacomiccons.com and I have all the details. I have, I believe, a floor plan, all the guests, all the different activities going on, the dealers that are coming. You know, we'll also be doing, of course, the art auction on Saturday, where various creators give gorgeous art pieces to be auctioned off. Everything else comes over to my store, including the aforementioned Wolverine Adamantium collection. Now, normally I would say you could have Cory autograph it, since this is a valuable antique. I mean, it's like the revolver that Wilkes Booth tried to assassinate Lincoln with. This is a National Archive piece. But Cory's not going. For some reason, Cory doesn't go to cons. Cory, why aren't you going to the con?
This is a very important message. I am telling you this with peace and love. After August 31st of 2016, I will make no more appearances. I just don't have the time. I am telling you this with peace and love. If you send me an invitation, it will be thrown away. I don't have the time. I am telling you this with peace and love. No more invitations. Please, any addresses you have, get rid of them. They will not be answered. Peace and love. Peace and love.
Cory might not be there, but I will be.
All right. With peace and love, or just with your microphone?
Pieces of pizza.
Oh. Yeah, he still won't interview me, but maybe I'll just do a drive-by and grab a piece.
Yeah, you run over, you never know what might happen.
That's true.
I say you hijack it, Joe.
I've only booked 4 of the 8 shows I want to do so far, so who knows?
I have more respect for a real podcaster than to do that.
But can I pull you away from the charity booth? I mean, your services are required.
What you'll have to say is I have to go get gas.
Depending on what type of pizza I get, you may get it.
Yeah, there is that. So, anyways, after and I should say, I don't know about Cory, but the Adamantium collection was not damaged in the least. Shrink wrap intact. I don't know. Maybe I could get Cory to sign a copy of Worldwide News, since he won't sign the Adamantium collection. This tried to assassinate me and failed miserably.
I hope it wasn't damaged. It is the hardest substance known.
Well, except trying to get Cory to a con. That's pretty tough to do. But
what if it's
peace and love? Peace and
now
love.
we had a problem because we didn't know. I mean, normally
Brunette Con.
We decide to.
If it's in Amsterdam, I'll fly there.
Or if somebody's there waiting for him.
I know where she lives.
Creepy.
Wait, what?
I'm just trying to prove my cred that I listen every week.
Go clean her room? Jeez.
Yeah. Don't talk about cleaning with drunk people.
We had a rare sighting of something even more rare than adamantium.
Butch! Yes, we picked up Butch, and then Joe had to do his ritual.
Nobody really picks up Butch. I mean, he's a big dude. he will be picked up if he wants to be. Fortunately, he did. So, but he hadn't seen the Avenger movie yet. The plan was kind of like, if he hadn't seen the Avenger movie, we were going to try to get to Granite City. Last year, Tim cussed us out because we went up to Granite City. The reason we go there is because Tim will guarantee that we get a complete set of the comics that we can then use, which Cory and I will milk for, at least 2 or 3 podcasts. And he just costs them out to us, which is always an important point for people, because you realize the comic cons aren't, when in shops and whoever's getting these things, they're not getting these things free of charge. They're paying a really reduced rate on them. I know the one that I did, I think like the Marvel comics were anywhere 25 to 35 cents. Some of the independents went as high as $1. And they also had a Stargate toy, which I carried because at the time I carried toys. And that ended up being like $5. And of course, years later, I sold the other ones for like $35 because apparently I was the only guy in existence that actually bought them. So some of these things actually end up being worth money. So after that, we'd usually see the movie that was playing. Last year's was Guardians. Year before that, I think Avengers. And what threw us off this year is that they moved the Avengers back 2 weeks. So I wasn't sure if I know Cory had seen it. I saw it. If you go listen to the last podcast that dropped on the 7th, you'll listen to all the spoilers we have. And so I wasn't sure if Butch had seen it. If he hadn't, I was going to suggest we waste a little time in the cities checking out shops. Because what happened the year previous, we went to the movie, then we went out to eat, and then we went home, and the next day we got nasty mail from Tim like, "Hey, how come you didn't call me? I'd have gone out to dinner." Didn't occur to us. But in keeping with tradition, just so we don't get people anxious and on the edge of their seats, we did not go out to dinner with Tim. So we'll get that off the table right away, so people that are worried about that can just, relax.
We also did not go to the Alien Diner.
Much as I wanted to, apparently, something about bad food poisoning, noxious fumes. I don't know what the excuse was.
That's the only place where it's okay to call yogurt probiotics.
How much have you been drinking?
Not enough.
But we didn't quite. Once we got Butch, we did take a couple detours on the way up. Most of them in town. First one we went to was a half-price bookstore up in Maplewood, because
that's a good one.
Were advertising free comics. Now notice they were not advertising free comic book day, just that they were giving away free comics. And I don't think I bought anything at that one. Cory left with a handful of stuff. What'd you end up getting?
I got a couple of the ACG reprints, those hardcover books that in previews are $60 each, but if you go to Half Price Book and Magazine, the exact same book, they're selling them for $12.99. Reprinting really public domain horror comics from the 50s. And I picked up a whole bunch of Death Merchant novels. Now, Death Merchant was one of those novel series in the 70s. The first novel series like it was The Executioner, which was Mac Bolan. His family was killed by the mob, and he swore revenge. I've heard of that somewhere.
Wasn't that the plot for Avengers 4?
Oh, yeah. But it was, The Executioner was such a success that the company that published it published a whole bunch of them. The one that I liked was The Destroyer, which was Remo Williams. There was also The Penetrator.
Yeah, that was a rated X one.
The Butcher.
That was the Minnesota Meat Market Association.
Edge.
A pro wrestling guy.
And The Death Merchant, which was pretty much just, this guy who went around killing bad guys. However, the writer was into all of the conspiracy theories of the 70s. So you've got the Illuminati in them, you've got clone armies, you've got aliens, you've got all this weird 70s crap. Where, rather than just killing bad guys, it's like, no, the bad guys created a clone army. So they are delightfully off the rails, batshit crazy. So I picked up about 6 of them to read over the summer, and a few other paperback mysteries. But their trade paperback section was very disappointing this year. They didn't have a whole lot that I went, oh, cool. And a lot of it wasn't even half price. It was stuff that, oh, look, this has been out for 6 months, so it's, they knocked $1 off. So,
see, your timing is off because they had a half price sale like 2 weeks early.
Probably.
So they were pretty much depleted.
And their box of free comics was basically the kind of cheese you get in a quarter bin at a convention. 80s overstock. And Butch was going through, oh, I love this. I love this book. I picked myself out of the box a King Conan that I had not read before.
I didn't bother.
It was written by Alan Zelnitz, who I've read that name, and I hear crickets. I hear crickets. So that's what I picked up.
Then we stopped over at the Barnes & Noble across the street in Maplewood Mall because they were advertising that they were part of Free Comic Book Day, although I didn't see anything.
I didn't see a goddamn thing.
And I know that previous years they did. So I don't know what it was, but we talked, Adam, a couple podcasts ago. In December, Barnes & Noble fired everybody that had been there any number of years. And
Really?
They ended up, people who were like stocking shelves were fired. Things that should have been put out were just left behind. They rehired a lot of people at starting wages. The gist of it, it sounds like the guys running it are either cashing it out or setting it up for liquidation or failure. I don't know if anybody would necessarily buy a bookstore chain now. So maybe that was part of it. You know, they're like, yeah, we're Free Comic Book Day, but they didn't have anything. You know, and they've had stuff in the past. I mean, when they gave away that free Detective Comics 27, you know, they had them over there. You know, they had them across the street at the source too, but you know, so we puttered around there. I didn't find anything to buy there. Did anybody buy anything there? Or did we just all wander around and leave?
We had wandered around and left.
And after that, we took a detour and stopped up at one of my favorite shops, Blue Sun Soda Shop.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, 1625 County Highway 10 in Spring Lake Park, and
that was really close to my old house.
Oh, just a lot of fun. The guys there were friendly. There were a lot of people going on. I think they had some type of event going on. Either way, I know I picked up some sodas. We all picked up a few, and we were almost trapped by the Pinbot game because, boy, we put a couple quarters in that sucker, and it kept spitting out free games. They have rows of pinball games. A lot of them look pretty beat up because there are a lot of out-of-order signs on them. But we played Pinbot, and I think when we left, there were still 3 free games on it because we were like, no, we're not going to get sucked in on this one.
That's a fun place.
It is. It's brilliant. It's one of those ideas that why didn't I think of that? I mean, we were doing that at Hot Comics St. Paul. We were bringing in as many crazy sodas as we could. But, I mean, these guys, I think my favorite one I got, if I can set my headphones down here.
He's gone. We can talk about him.
Woo! That Joe, he's such a so-and-so.
Oh, here it is. The Monkeys Banana Nut Soda. I'm not even sure where it's from. Most of the time I stick with diet because being diabetic, it's not great. But I mean, I'm a Monkeys fan. So I'm going to put this one right here next to my beloved bottle of Rat Bastard Root Beer. Because unfortunately, they did not have Rat Bastard Root Beer. So I got to keep my one bottle here just in case.
And you keep that very clean, right?
No, I let it dust over.
All right.
And then we thought we'd hit another half-price bookstore. Because there happened to be one up
the
road.
Northtown one?
Yep. And there I actually did buy something. I actually found a copy of New Avengers Breakout, which is adapted from the graphic novel by Brian Michael Bendis and David Finch by Ash Elzea Whitney. And, they look pretty new. And like Cory said, it's not quite half price, but they took half off the cover price, so I guess that worked out okay for me. Cory left with a bunch of stuff as well. What'd you get there, Mr. Strode?
There I picked up some more mysteries, but more current ones because they didn't have very much the old stuff that I tend to troll used book stores for. I picked up 4 Max Allan Collins books that I had not read before, so once again, those take a little longer to read than an afternoon, but they're still a lot of fun. And one of them is a series that he wrote that I didn't know about, which is about a small-town sheriff who gets sucked into big-time crimes, and the person he solves the crimes with is a producer on a TV series. So there were only 2 books in it, so it must not have done that well. But still, it's Max Allan Collins. He's probably the best modern writer of hard-boiled detective fiction right now.
And after that, north to St. Cloud. And we finally broke one tradition that I've been doing ever since we've been going to St. Cloud. I did not pay for parking.
Thank goodness.
Every year I plug about $2-3 into the meters, only to find out, they don't plug them on Saturday. So I saved me a few quarters that way.
Joe didn't throw money away for once. Well,
I did.
Not on parking.
Well, not on parking. No, I saved that for Granite City. Now we get there. What time did we get there? We got there about 2, wasn't it?
Yep, it was about 2:30.
Because Granite City, like everywhere else on Free Comic Book Day that's doing it, is very, very crowded in the beginning. And, Tim says they have waves of busyness. We actually got there. It was steady, but it was, you certainly didn't have to, like, jostle your way through. There were a few guys that came back in the store, and they were like, yeah, I had to come back. Couldn't get to the boxes before. So dug through a lot of themselves. Tim was gracious enough to donate a box of stuff to the charity auction, so I get to go through that tomorrow.
Did he donate it with peace and love?
I didn't ask.
Okay.
But knowing Tim, it's probably like, hey, where's my tax form? So, and I got a bunch of stuff. They had a bunch of boxes out for $1. I couldn't even tell you what I found. I just grabbed a lot of Silver Age and beat up Golden Age, just things I'd never read, things that had an interesting cover. And, I bought the books, and that was pretty much it. Did you get anything specific, Cory?
I picked up the run of the Ultimates by Hickman, which I have not read before. And I dug through the dollar bin and got a big old handful of Marvel horror reprints from the 70s that reprinted their 50s stuff. A lot of DC dollar books, some Superman family, some adventure comics, and then they had from the late 60s, early 70s. I haven't opened it up yet, but it's one of the 35-cent DC Giant size, the best Jimmy Olsen stories. So now I'll finally get to read the Giant Turtle Jimmy Olsen story. Best Jimmy Olsen stories.
He really came out of his shell in that one.
I may have to start drinking.
I did pick up a run of books called Shades of Blue from Amp Comics. And I just picked it up because I could. I've never read it before. I figured, what the heck? I was actually really kind of conservative buying this time around. I didn't even buy anything at the next bookstore we visited because I've been trying to get through my collection and make enough room so I can get these bookcases, which I bought from said co-host here, that I actually my wife took one of the little ones and set it up in our bedroom and took all the books that were scattered all over the place and put them in there. The others are just sitting in my garage where they've been sitting since I bought them from you.
It sounds like where they were sitting at my place.
And the thing is down in the basement, I have one bookcase where I had so much on the top shelf, it just collapsed and took like 2 out of the 5 shelves with it. So all those books are sitting on a table. I just haven't actually gone down to like empty out the remains of the one bookcase and put one of the black ones in there. So I'll get around to it someday. Don't pressure me. I don't have to answer to you. Well, you maybe, but not you.
Well, Adam.
Yes?
We've been talking about with stuff that we've been getting. What were you buying at these shops?
Kind of like Joe, I remained a little conservative. Let's see. As mentioned previously, at Midwest Collectibles, I picked up the 8 issues of the Unstoppable Wasp. Once I got to Mellow Blue Planet, I picked up volume 16, 18, and 19 of Battle Angel Alita, The Last Order. Need to find 17. I'd been holding out hope that they were going to reprint those in a 6th omnibus, because they had done the first 5. But I read recently that was only because Kodansha had picked up the license after Viz lost it, and wanted to get the first 15 volumes reprinted and out on the shelves very quickly. So found out there will never be an omnibus volume 6. What? I don't know. Somebody just told me congratulations. Whatever. I think there's viruses. I don't know. But anyway, so
I think he's drinking too much.
So
they're congratulating you on your alcoholic consumption.
Yes. So I grabbed those and will now be hunting down volume 17 so I can finish that.
So if one of our listeners has issue 17, they'd like to, figure a way to get to Adam.
Send to me? Yes.
I mean, just like I'm looking for Paradise X softcover volume 2 because I have all the other 5. I don't have that one. It's not even on the eBays. I don't know and it's out of print, so no one can get it.
I then jumped up to the comic rack also in Rock Island, and grabbed one of their $20 Thunder and Lightning grab bags, which is full of a lot of Thor comics and a Tron comic. I wasn't quite certain how that related to things, but hey, it's one of my favorite shops in the area. I have two pull lists now. Mellow Blue Planet covers my Marvel and DC books. Comic Rack covers my indie books, so I wanted to toss them some money. Then went off to Have Fun Collectibles in Moline, Illinois, which I was told is where you need to go on Free Comic Book Day. They're the one who does it up. So I found a pair of Daredevil glasses where you put it on and it makes it look like the top half of your head is Daredevil's mask.
Oh, I thought you put them on and you can't see.
It's like being drunk.
Yes, yeah. They're like beer goggles. So yeah, I grabbed one of those because it was just because I love Daredevil and I'd never seen it before and it's fun. And then my last stop was at In This Issue, which is one of the coolest comic shop names I've ever heard. And I grabbed a Nelson and Murdoch coffee mug. So not a whole hell of a lot of comics purchased. I did pick up a lot of the free books and then drop them off at my girlfriend's house for her kids and her to read. So it was they came out a lot better off than I did for myself. So, but all in all, it was a good day. I made a pit stop and had some Harris pizza, which is a Quad City styles pizza, and that was all right.
Whoa.
Yeah.
What is Quad City style pizza?
Oh my God. So if you've listened to Panels and Pizza, you know how much I hate that square cut pizza. Oh, I just cannot stand it. Well, Quad City's
I would agree
pizza,
with you, but then we'd both be wrong.
Yeah, I guess. Quad City style pizza kind of finds a compromise between your regular like slice and the square cut. They do a fishbone cut where they do one cut down the middle and then they do about 5 cuts across that. So you have about 10 slices, if you can call them a slice. So you have 4 like larger corner slices and then like 4 to 5 strips. So there are these like rectangular pieces of pizza.
As someone from Central Illinois, I have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah. I think somebody was drunk when they cut the pizza for you. Myself.
Yeah, I think so.
It probably works too if you're drunk and eating it.
They were into my stash, but I stopped there halfway through. So after the first 4 stores, I stopped, had some pizza, and it was really good. They had that really crumbly sausage. So that was interesting. The only thing that didn't really hold up was the crust itself. Did not pass my flop test. So the crust was very thin and flimsy. So if you lifted up a slice of this rectangular cut, it would droop down and all of that crumbly sausage would just be on your plate.
Now that I remember from Illinois.
Yeah. But you know what? It tasted really good as soon as you could scoop it all back together, and it might grow on me. I don't know yet. So
we too kind of compromised because by the time we got to Granite City and everything, we were so freaking hungry. Usually we just eat at the theater, but it just didn't work this way. So we stopped at a place. What's it called? Herbert's. It's like a chain.
Yeah, Herbert's and Gerbert's, and
we
we got
Herbert's
yelled
and
at.
Gerbert's?
We got yelled
Yeah,
at
we
by
got scolded. Yeah,
got yelled at
And I
by
gotta
one of
tell-
the people who lived there, Stephanie, who's been on the show
which
before.
is funny because she has poor taste in tater tots, but still, we got chewed out. And I gotta admit that I was not impressed. We were just there because it was right next to Granite City. We were hungry, and then we just figured, if because the debate was like, well, we go to the theater and eat there, or we can just eat here and just do whatever at the theater. And it's kind of a good thing we did eat there because when we got to the theater, we did not get in to go see the Avengers, at least not in Granite City.
Joe, you are passing over the most important thing that happened the entire day.
Oh yeah, we went to Books Revisited, which is right down the block from St. Cloud, Granite City. And their used bookstore. It's actually smaller than it was the last time we visited, and I didn't pick up anything. Cory, what'd you pick up there?
They seem to be thinning out their bookshelves, but I was able to find quite a few old 60s crime noir stuff, including a few Shellshot Mysteries, which back in the 50s and 60s, those things sold, hundreds of thousands of copies, and now nobody remembers it. Shellshot was so popular that if they had a Shellshot short story in a magazine, they could count on a 15 to 20% increase in sales. But Joe is still passing over the most important thing that happened. While we were at the sandwich shop, kids who were all dressed up for prom showed up for their prom dinner. And I myself can't think of anything better than spending a couple $100 on a rented tux, bringing your best girl who's been thinking about this for a year and has spent an ungodly amount of money on a dress, makeup, gone and got her hair done and spent money on that. Take her to a sandwich shop so that you could get yourself a $5 turkey sandwich. That's
Why?
class.
Why?
Well, the thing to remember is, though, they were having fun. So, Cory, you're an old fart. It's probably why you never went to your prom.
No, I went to 3 proms.
They were, I know. You had to go to Canada, you had to go to Amsterdam, and then when I
was in high school, I went to prom 3 times. But you know why they went to the sandwich shop, Joe?
Okay, this is old man talk. So all you young people can tune out for fast forward about 10, 20 seconds while the old man talks. Tell me, Cory, why'd they go to the sandwich shop?
Because the classy place, White Castle, had shut down 2 months ago.
Oh. But that didn't stop people when we got back into town and had a late night pancake dinner at Denny's from seeing those prom people come in.
But yet at prom, they still did the electric slider.
The thing was, we had tried to get into IHOP, but by the time we got back into town, it was already 10 o'clock, and we did not. They were closing.
Well, we did
Cory
stop and see the Avengers.
Still rudely had to use their bathroom. Well, if I can't have pancakes, I'm going to drop a deuce in your stalls.
No, I just did number 1.
Yeah, but it's funnier the way I said it.
But we did stop and see the Avengers at a theater where the lobby of the theater far better than the theater itself.
Oh yeah, yeah. It was pretty. It's I can't even think of it. It was in St. Michael's, Minnesota. And while I get the old Google machine fired up here, I'll figure out the name. But finally Butch had seen it. What was really disappointing, the only disappointing thing at the end of the night is here I'm thinking, okay, finally our conversations on the way up and the way back waffle between sheer absurdity to comics to wrestling and back. We talked very little about the movie after we left the theater there. So I was a little disappointed with that. But by God, we talked about pretty much nothing else.
By God, we talked about 1970s pro wrestling.
St. Michael's Cinema. That's the name of it. Very original name up in St. Michael's, Minnesota. So
the lobby looks like it's the exterior of a European bistro.
Parisian accents.
Very.
We did not get the 70-foot screen. We got shoveled into another one. And of course, it was those old-fashioned seats where you have to either have an agreement with the guy next to you over who gets the middle elbow rest or just fight it out. And, because I'm used to going to Marcus because they all have recliners. So, I can basically just, set up a Boy Scout camp there and just kind of, not bother anybody.
Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a crate.
So that was our comic book days.
And we got, Joe and I got one of each, but we skipped over at one of the half-price books. The second one, they actually had a small box of leftover half-price leftover free comic book days from other shops. And as I was looking on the back, boy, there's a lot of big brain stickers on the back of these, including the one that I picked out. I finally, after years of searching, have got myself a copy, free no less, of the Mouse Guard hardcover they did for Free Comic Book Day a few years ago.
Oh, that thing.
Yes.
Didn't that used to go for some money on eBay?
Yes, it still does.
All right. Man, nice score.
I am not selling it. And the thing is, it's only got a few pages of Mouse Guard, and as I'm reading through, it's like, we haven't got a new Mouse Guard book for, 5 years. What the hell?
Now, Cory, you have to look in there to see if the stamps and stickers are in there.
Oh, I will look.
Because that's that apparently, I don't know if it came with it or if it's supposed to be with it, but I see somebody on the eBays is selling it for $1, and on the high end it's going for $5. So that Uncut Peanuts or Unseen Peanuts comic had its heyday and it's gone down. Could be because, like you said, there hasn't been anything new.
I think the whole Mouse Guard thing has died because you got to put out a book every so often. I read where the artist got a deal to do illustrations for a new illustrated version of Wind in the Willows. And I'm sure that paid okay, but probably not as much as a new Mouse Guard book, seeing as how that thing would hit the New York Times bestseller list every time it came out. But there we go. We're an hour into this, so why don't we just talk about... Joe, did you read any of the free comics yet?
I did. I picked up a couple. Was it me, or was there no major DC one?
There was not. DC instead did the DC Nation 25-cent book. And the free comic was pushing these superhero girls because, remember, I talked about a few weeks ago, they're going to be doing a young adult novel and graphic novel series of that. So they really wanted to push that for Free Comic Book Day. But DC Nation was a 25-cent book. And a lot of shops just threw that in with the free comics.
Well, I'll kind of rattle down the ones I looked at right away. Because I took since we had a complete run, I just went through them and I picked out the ones I normally would check out. And I went to the Marvel ones. I would have picked the DC, but I already read the 25-center last week. Went through the Avengers story, which was looks like a setup for what's coming up in Avengers 1, which I believe dropped last week.
Yes.
Or 2 weeks ago by the time this podcast hits. A little teaser for Captain America coming up. Some things with Amazing Spider-Man. I wasn't impressed with either of those stories, and it's weird because I'm on the fence about collecting Amazing Spider-Man, which is the first comic I ever collected. So I may be dropping it at 1. I haven't decided. Or do like I normally do. Pick up the first 6, and if I like it, keep it. If not, blow it out on eBay. A lot of house ads. One I got to look at, Transformers Unicron. which I guess is kind of the how would you say it? The grand finale from them starting the Transformers books 10 years ago. You don't need to be familiar with anything to read it. Then they do a nice thing of getting everything caught up. And since it's the Hasbro universe, they actually tie in. Apparently, the metal that is on ROM is actually ties into the Transformers. The G.I. Joes tie into them because there was a sleeper agent that was a Prime, and they caused the Visionaries to appear, which I guess has something to do with waking up Unicron. But I will probably pick up the 6-issue series just to read it because this has nothing to do with the movies or anything previous. I read Strangers in Paradise. I take back what I said about Echo because they kind of deal with the aftermath of Echo because it's all tied in together. Although if you don't want to read it, you don't have to. I'm going to pick up Strangers in Paradise in trade, but I do enjoyed it. I read I can't say it right.
Mechanica.
Thank you. I gotta pick these books up. This is like the second time I've read a free comic book day, and just been really intrigued by it. And a couple off the grid ones. Scout Comic has a run of comics coming out that just sound fascinating, and they give a decent one for The Mall, which is an '80s coming of crime story. Apparently, when this guy's parents passed away, he inherited a shop in the mall that sells organs. And again, he ain't staying in business by selling organs because he apparently is a storefront for washing money for the mob. So, and this kid's in high school, so you can imagine there's some high school shenanigans, some bullies, some prom. The other stuff that they're offering, Cinnabar, Genetica, Oblivion 8. Actually, it's Oblivion with I and the O as 18, so I'm not sure how to pronounce it. But all the stuff from this company looks really, really good. The last one I read was something from Svetlana Chemakov called Crush. Again, another high school type story. The main protagonist is, for lack of better words, the biggest guy on campus, and he doesn't. People don't pick on him, and if somebody's picking on you and he tells them to quit it, yeah, they quit it, and it's just kind of an interesting preview. A self-published book and being published by Yen Press, so I may check that out to see if it's a series or a graphic novel. Adam, what kind of books did you get out of Free Comic Book Day that you'd recommend or that you liked?
So far, the only thing I've had a chance to read was the preview of the new Amazing Spider-Man. And I picked that up because I'm really excited to see that Ryan Ottley made the jump from Invincible to, like, a flagship Marvel title. And I'm getting what I hoped I would get as far as the writing goes from Nick Spencer. The same type of voice and tone he used on Superior Foes of Spider-Man and Ant-Man, and the fix that he does with Steve Lieber from Image. So very just kind of sarcastic and funny. So I'm on board for that one. When Amazing Spider-Man drops in June or July, I want to read it, as long as that creative team is doing the book. I grabbed a couple other things for me that I was interested in. The new Barrier from Image Comics by Brian K. Vaughan and Marcos Martin. Haven't had a chance to read it yet, but I will, because it's a new BKV book. So, yeah, I've got to check it out. Like you, Transformers Unicron, just to see what's going on, even though I haven't read a Transformers comic in ages. The Power Rangers Shattered Grid. I don't know why I grabbed it. It's not like I'm reading Power Rangers comics, but hell, it was free.
Well, Hasbro just bought Power Rangers, so
yeah,
I imagine once their license and boom, if or when it expires, will go they'll swallow them into the Hasbro universe.
Yeah. The rest of everything I grabbed was for Sarah and her daughters, so for them to look over and read. So mostly it was mostly for them because they weren't able to get out for the day due to some family stuff. So I mostly went out and got books for them and bought a few little knickknacks for me and just kept a couple of the free comic book day books for myself, because I normally, for Free Comic Book Day, I found over the years, I don't read a lot of those books, so I don't, if I'm out for myself, I don't grab a lot of them. I leave them behind for the other people coming to the shops.
Well, I read the 2 Marvel books. The one with Spider-Man also had a backup of Guardians of the Galaxy, which was really odd because it was all text.
Yes.
Basically catching you up on everything leading up to the Infinity Wars. That's going to be the big summer crossover. So basically the Guardians of the Galaxy comic was canceled so that it could become Infinity Countdown and then Infinity Wars. And then I imagine a new Guardian series will spin out of it. But it was a really odd choice, I thought. The Spider-Man was fun. It was a good setup to let you know what the series is going to be like, and I'm looking forward to more. The Avengers, I had already read Avengers #1, so reading this is like, oh, it's some of the backstory for it. And the Captain America preview that we got really has me excited. As sad as it is that Mark Waid's not going to stay on the book very long, I'm looking forward to the new creative team. From Drawn and Quarterly, they had Berlin, and I was really surprised that it's just the first part of that graphic novel, which has been out for a few years. So I was really kind of wondering why they made that choice. And then the other one I read, because they do such a good job every year, I read the Bongo Free-for-All, which was some great Simpsons short stories. And I'm looking forward to this weekend reading pretty much all of them. A lot of them I wonder why they, like The Tick. I wonder why they waste money on The Tick. Because every year, here's a new Tick Free Comic Book Day, and we're going to start a new Tick series. And none of the new Tick series that have spun out of Free Comic Book Day have lasted more than like 2 issues. At least this year we didn't get a new Captain Canuck where it says, a new Captain Canuck series. It's going to, no one will care either. So, but it looked like a lot of kids' comics this year. I was really impressed with that. A lot of kids' comics and comics aimed at younger readers. Because, boy, we got to get them reading some books. You know who doesn't need younger readers?
Disney. Because, good Lord, with the Star Wars and Avengers franchise, whew.
I would have said Penthouse.
Do they
still publish?
I don't know.
Do they still accept letters?
I hope so. Because I never thought it would happen to me.
The incident.
But our sponsor this week has a comic that's for grown-ups, and here it is.
Hey, what's up, everybody? It's your boy Danny J. Quick, lead writer of Ace Blade, the Vegas Vigilante comic, and I am here to give you Solitary Rose listeners the deal of a lifetime. I'm going to give away a free comic, a free Ace Blade comic over on our website. We just launched our final Kickstarter for Ace Blade, the Vegas Vigilante, the 100-page edition, and we want to give all of you Solitary Rose listeners first dibs at it. So if you go over to our website, www.fourthwallpros.com, download Ace Blade #1, use the promo code ROSE at checkout, and you can get that comic absolutely free. If you enjoy it, go over to our Kickstarter and then back us, and you can get the rest of the story there. I really appreciate it. We really need your help and support, so I hope you enjoy that. And that's it for me. So until next time, stay vigilant, my friends. Bye.
And after we do the sponsors, we talk about what's coming up. Bad Advice with myself and Wolfie B. Bad with Dangerous Dan Moore hosting. You can hear more about that here. The Solitaire Rose Radio Network has all sorts of podcasts. We've got Scrabbling Across the West with Dave Cafell and his lovely bride Stephanie. They travel across the country playing musical gigs, and at night they sit down to play Scrabble and talk about their day at scrabbling.solitairerose.com. There's Novelcast over at novels.solitairerose.com, where I take the novels that I've written and turn them into audio podcasts. Currently, we are doing a novel called Do the Job, which is a murder mystery set in the world of 1980s professional wrestling. Then, over at badadvice.solitairerose.com, me, Cory Strode, and Wolfie B. Bad, along with Dan Moore, give bad advice to people who send in questions. That's bad advice over at badadvice.solitairerose.com. The Solitaire Rose Radio Network is growing. Be there! You think NBC will get mad I used that? And also, if you would like to contact us or make a comment or email us or whatever, I have a drop for that too. I've got all kinds of drops, Joe. Hey there, kittens and caboodles. It's me, your charming and delightful old Uncle Rat Bastard. Would you like to contact the show? Would you like to say something and have it be on the show? Go ahead and give us a call at 952-856-0519 and leave a message, and we'll play it on the show. You can also email us at solitairerosenetwork@gmail.com. And if you would like to buy advertising on the Solitaire Rose Network, a growing network of podcasts that I am very excited about because, well, they're my podcasts, you can do so. Just email at solitairerosenetwork@gmail.com, subject advertising. Thanks.
I want to hear what Adam's up to. Adam, what's going on in your end of the podcasting universe?
I'm getting ready to get back into the swing of things. I'll be coming up for MSP Comic-Con 2018, where I'm hoping to knock out about 8 new episodes of the show. Just kind of the way the year is set up for the rest of the year, it's pretty much convention episodes with a few Skype things in between, and maybe some local stuff if I can hunt down some local creators here in the Quad Cities. But just business as usual for panels and pizza. A little less pizza, a lot more panels. With doing more convention shows, but the way I've set it up is I'm doing enough material at MSP to get me to ChapelCon at the end of July, and then whatever I do at ChapelCon should take me to Minnesota Fan Fusion at the beginning of August, and then that should take me up to hopefully Comic Book Icon in Des Moines in the middle of November. So trying to do a lot more convention shows now that my access to local creators has really dried up.
You mean there's not a whole lot to do in central Illinois?
Well, depends on what you're doing, Cory.
For me, I was pretty much drinking and going to college.
So, as far as comic book creators go, I did go to C2E2. I didn't mention that a whole lot. I went there just for one day. My girlfriend's a librarian, so she got in for free that Friday on a pro pass, and I had to buy a pass like a normie since Reed Pop seems to hate me for some reason. Never gives me a pro pass. I made a few contacts at the show. So I'm hoping to be able to get out to Chicago a couple of times this summer and do some in-person episodes at some Chicago pizza joints. So we'll see how that plays out.
Real pizza, damn it.
Yeah, that nice deep dish. Oh, yeah.
Damn right.
So
did we just have a pizza-gasm?
Oh, pretty much every day, man.
Well, Joe, we heard the dollar signs going off behind you. What is going on the eBays?
Yeah, man. Making that green.
It is time to ask the Strode.
Uh-oh. I'm ready.
And Adam, if you know the answer, feel free to chime in. Cory?
Do I get that dime?
Yes.
I got it right here.
All right.
Well, this one's not so shiny. You don't want to know where I had it Probably want to
That's
wash.
fine. It all
Take it.
spins the same.
Tell me about Steve Scout.
Oh, that's all Cory.
That was under the bus fast.
I don't know.
I didn't either. You know how on eBay's you get them dumbass things where like, you could see if your antiques are worth money. Well, I finally hit on one that your old Boy Scout memorabilia could be worth money. And it probably will be worth more now that they're letting the girls in, but that's a different subject. So I went through it looking to just see, you know, I was a Boy Scout, a Cub Scout in the 70s, Boy Scout in the 80s. I made it to Eagle. I stayed on a couple years afterwards, but most of my stuff's put away. None of my stuff, by the way, is worth money, so get that off the table right away. But I did go through, and as in 1974, Kenner released Steve Scout. It was an adventure toy line based on a guy named Steve Scout, 9-inch doll. Had a uniform, could be used with G.I. Joe sets, things like that. Came with camping vehicles, accessories if you bought it. And then each one came with one of those mini comic, such as the High Adventure Scouts Encounter Danger at Snake River, dun dun dun. And then, you know, you read it, or there's another one, Scouting and You. And I don't know how many comics they made. It's not in the buyer's guide. I looked it up in Overstreet. It's not on Atomic Avenue. I did find some on the eBays. They run anywhere from $28 to $75 on the condition, all in newsprint. They're not like the shiny, glossy ones we got in Superpower figures later on. So just another weird comic book type giveaway. As far as what's ringing up, well, you got your
Joe. Hold on. I have an Ask the Joe.
What? Hang on a second. Hang on.
Wouldn't that be, does Joe know?
Oh, that's right. Does Joe know?
Thank you. I knew he said that wrong. I put that contract. Ah, damn it! I have to let him. It's in the contract. I'm telling you. Next time you sign a podcast agreement, have a lawyer look at it. Go ahead, Strode.
Hey, I listened to this thing.
What is Stan Lee's connection to the Boy Scouts?
Was he an Eagle Scout?
Nope.
Did he eat a brownie?
No, he's straight edge.
Oh, okay. I don't know.
Adam, do you know?
Masseuse badges?
No! The one comic strip that he had some minor success with in the late 50s with artist Joe Manili was Mrs. Lyon's Cubs. Who's playing guitar? Is that Elias?
Mine. I'm sorry.
Is Mrs. Lyon's Cubs, which was sold as a comic strip about Cub Scouting.
Huh.
However, pretty much within a few months, it had nothing to do with Cub Scouts except for the uniforms. And he later reused the name Mrs. Lyon.
You're lying.
Oh, he did.
Yes. Stan
Spider-Man
never
is
lets
Amazing
anything go to waste.
Now, the final comic collection of Boy Scouts, I will mention there was a 6-issue series called The Best from Boys Life Comics. Boys Life being the magazine that, at least when I was in scouting, you got religiously because it was all about scouting and adventures and stories and ads and jokes, and they had comic strips in the back. And so Classic Illustrated teamed with the Boy Scouts in 1957 and published a selection of which was arguably the most popular American magazine for boys. And they included Western, science fiction, adventure strips, had how-to craft projects, things like that. I actually had a number 4, which I have no idea where I got it from. Mint shape, about $40. Mine are nowhere near mint shape, but they're on the eBays. So if you're interested, check it out, KRAYZ, or go through one of the links Cory puts on his podcast, or just give me a call. Because, you know, I got oodles of stuff that I'll toss in as a bonus. Probably not the Adamantium collection, because there's always a second chance to get Strode. That'll be... So check it out.
And after Joe talks about what's going on the eBays, we get to my favorite part of the show, where we talk...
Bathroom break!
No, that's not my favorite part of the show.
Oh, damn.
Where we talk about sunscreens. No, no, no.
Soon to be illegal in Hawaii, although Hawaii might be evaporated pretty soon the way it's going.
Well, it's
SPF 69.
It's only certain sunscreens.
You'll need about 2,669 for that.
All right.
No, it's
Liquid hot magma.
I've lost. You see, that's what happens. That's why we don't let drunk people on the show.
And we haven't even been talking Transformers, which is
I've
amazing.
sobered up. So.
I know.
Damn you two.
Curses.
No, it's a freaking and geeking. Joe,
And
what are you freaking on?
well, I had to get my eyes dilated today because, being diabetic and rheumatoid, and I haven't done it in 2 years. And you call the doctor. Here I am in the hospital with allergic reaction, and oh, you haven't had your eyes checked. Do you think this is the time to talk about that? So I lucked out though. I actually called like last Monday. They got me in this week. I was up early. About 7:40 I went in, 7:45 my eyes were dilated, 8:30 they came back to look inside. Everything's fine, which is nice. So I was actually reading the free comic book day when Cory texted and said, I'm running late, which was good because that allowed me to finish reading my free comic book days. I didn't get nothing done today. So I got more to do tomorrow. But
You're not going to do anything tomorrow, are you?
Oh, yes, I am. Now's the time of year where my wife gives me the garage, and not only do I have a bunch of bookcases in it, but I start taking all these wonderful things that I've been collecting and pricing for the charity booth, and I move them into the garage. And I take the things from last year, take them out of their mouse-proof, knock on wood, containers, and check them out and check the prices and make sure they survived. Everything will be staged in the garage, so then when we start lugging it out to the Minnesota State Fair grandstand, my daughter and I can just fill her car, fill my truck. We actually, all four of us are going to be there this year with all four of us having cars. So I'm thinking it should only take me one trip to get everything out there, although it may be more. So weather's going to hold, which will be nice, and my eyes won't be dilated, so I don't have to look into the bright sunshine and go, oh, that hurts. So I got that going for me. But that's more of a geeking. Adam, what are you freaking on?
Culture shock. After almost 2 decades up in the Twin Cities, dealing with things like, this is so silly, but like, there's only one Barnes & Noble in the entire area.
Is it a good one?
It's all right. I was there looking for something, and then I couldn't find it, so I messaged Sarah, and I was like, are there any other Barnes & Nobles here? And she's like, nope. And I was like,
you don't even have any decent, like, small bookshops?
Oh, there's a BAM, a Books A Million. It's okay. Just kind of reacclimating to my new living area. So there are things I really like about it, and then things where I'm just kind of like, oh, they don't have that here. Okay. All right. I'll survive. So
that's why I think Amazon is probably doing as well as it is, because you have 90% of the country not in a big town.
Probably.
And, St. Cloud has a Barnes & Noble, and they have about a half a dozen small bookstores, not counting Granite City, but they come and go. Even the one that we went to, they had a book in the mall there, or the Books Unlimited or Revisited. They had a bookstore in the mall, but apparently they closed it and they merged it into their downtown one. So it's a tough business.
Yeah, that's really my only freaking is just kind of like, okay, they don't have that here. Well, I will survive, but I guess I never realized how spoiled that I was living in the Twin Cities for as long as I did. So, no, granted, I would not give up where I'm at now and where my life is at now for that, but still, just kind of like learning the ropes of a new place after having been in one place for as long as I was. So, that's really it. A minor freaking.
How about you, Mr.
Cory?
Strode?
I am dealing with exhaustion.
We were pretty rough on him on that trip.
Well, it was more, the group home has really... because there's change coming to the group home. Joe, do you like change?
I got a whole bucket full.
Shiny nickels.
And Adam, you have gone through some major change.
Oh boy.
Pretty exhausting, isn't it?
It can be, yes. Yes.
Well, the clients at the group home, they're developmentally disabled, so for them, change is traumatic even before it happens. Even if it's happening in, months from now. They are very demanding and very needy and reacting in ways that would, you and I would probably react very differently than they would. Because one of the clients there has so much trouble processing the change and processing her emotions that every night, if anything is different in any way, shape, or form, she just starts screaming and trying to hit people, and she can't process it. So it's the work there has become much more exhausting. For example, I did a sleep shift last night. I got woke up at 11 by one of the clients who'd gotten out of bed to go to the bathroom, got back and did not know how to cover themselves up anymore. They needed to be tucked in. Because they're concerned, they're worried, they need comfort, they need assurance. And then 2 in the morning, everybody seemed to need to get up to go to pee. Everybody at the same time, loudly.
You would think that would have been at 1 o'clock.
No. They wanted to wait till I'd had at least, 3 hours of sleep before they wanted to. And then the full-time job, the unemployment rate in the Twin Cities is a little bit around 3%. So first time some of the new people get yelled at or told to correct something, they're not there in a couple of days. They just, screw this, I'm a temp, I don't care. They leave. We have been buried under stuff. Just buried. To the point where on one of the new clients, they said, we need you to do this by this deadline. Got everything done by the deadline, sent it to them. I then would send an email every day, hey, you need to approve this stuff because the phone line's open on Monday the 7th. I'd send an email, send a reminder, send an email, send a reminder. Friday, 4 in the afternoon, my supervisor comes running up to me. Oh my God, I forgot the phone line's open on Monday. Do you have that stuff done? So after we ran around all day on Saturday, Sunday, I had the day off. After taking care of laundry and doing my own cleaning, I did my own cleaning, Joe, so I have to hate myself. Doing my own cleaning and getting that stuff done, laid down on the couch, laid down on the my little thing outside for reading, and kind of dozed off. Good thing was I was in the shade, so I didn't wake up with a horrible, horrible sunburn. But I have 5 days coming up. 5 days off coming up. I'm going to turn off everything. I'm just going to be reading and watching TV and working on podcasts.
It sounds nice.
It will be. Joe, what are you geeking on?
I'm on vacation for 2 weeks starting next week.
Yeah.
First time I've taken a 2-week vacation since I started TSA, and that was how many years ago, Cory?
Wasn't that 2003 or 2004?
Yep, about 15 years I've been there. Matter of fact, as people are tired at work, I got 7 more years, and I hope to retire. At least that's my goal, if I can keep my mouth shut long enough. But, yeah, we're basically that's kind of the push. The first week will be the push get up to the Comic-Con, trying to get the charity table going. This is usually the time of year where I give my house an enema, and it's kind of fun because, I got stuff, I swear, from the first days of Hot Comics back in 1992. Every so often something will surface, and I'll be like, holy cow, I totally blanked that I had this. And then it's a matter of what things I just want to donate and move on. And so Thursday is set up for the con. Friday is another setup day. We'll have everything booth-wise set up by Friday. And the fun thing is for the con guys is as the dealers who come in on Friday, you kind of get first crack at looking at their stuff. And then, of course, Saturday, Sunday is the main event. So
main event.
Looking forward to
Roman
that.
Reigns versus Brock Lesnar.
It is the grandstand, and Brock does have ties in town, so you never know what will happen. But no. Anyway, after that,
40-year-old paper versus humidity?
It could be. I mean, it's not for naught. We didn't have SweatCon a few years ago. I got the art to prove it. And then on the 21st, it's me wedding anniversary. And my wife and I are going to head up to the North Shore. Thank you. I'm embarrassed to say I don't know how many years, but see, we were married in '88, so that 30? Good gravy. Somebody saint that woman. So we're going up to the North Shore. If I'm lucky, she'll let me stop at a comic shop. I'm not counting on it. But, we got there's like, 4 in Duluth? I could probably hit maybe one of them. But we're going way up the North Shore. We're going to do some traveling on the Gunflint Trail. We're bringing our passports in case we want to invade Canada. A lot of state parks. We're going to go check out Devil's Kettle, the infamous waterfall where water goes in and they're not quite sure where it goes out. They've dropped ping pong balls. They've dropped GPS. They've dropped dyes. The water goes into the Devil's Kettle and they don't know where it comes out. They thought, oh, sure, it'll come out in Lake Superior nearby. Nope. My guess is it probably goes to a shower in an alternate dimension, but that's just me. And then I'll come back, I'll work one day, and I'll have 3 days off for Labor Day. Memorial Day, which is nice because I have that day off too. So, but the reason I want to work that Sunday, the 27th, is because as Cory knows, and Adam will, is that they always give, if you're working outside normal hours, which is like 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., they give you a 10% bump in the evening, and on Sunday they give you a 25% bump. So that's kind of cool. Reading-wise, I mean, as if we haven't given our readers enough to read. You know what? I think I'm gonna save this for next week because I mean I've blown through so many graphic novels. It'll be its own podcast almost. But I will mention one. Mind's Eye Comic is doing their liquidation sale. I stopped down to visit, picked up. Somebody already hit their dollar graphic novels, but I found some really cool ones, including a few that I read fast and I'm going to bring to the charity booth, such as this huge volume of Wolverine by Daniel Way. This is volume 3, which contains Wolverine Origins 16 to 32, cuts in X-Men Legacy, and then also contains material from Wolverine, the 2003 series, 73 to 74. Just a fascinating read. This is back when, let's see, Daniel Way was doing the writing. Let's see who's doing the art here. What? No credits? You bastards. Oh, Steve Dillon, because he was doing Origins at the time. Deodato Jr. is in here. Just a fascinating, fun read. And I'm going to have that bad boy. I paid $1 for it. It's going right to the charity booth. The cover price on this bad boy is $34.99. So maybe that's why I didn't get any good deals on Free Comic Book Day. I already exhausted my good luck. That's pretty much it. Adam, how about you? What you geeking on?
Oh, I've got a couple of things. First thing is, I don't know why I got into these suddenly, but the figurized standard models from Bandai, the Dragon Ball supermodels. I've put together 2 so far, Goku and a Vegeta, and I seem to have discovered that if I mix putting together a model with a couple of shots of whiskey, it really kind of puts my mind at ease. But they're really nice model kits, very detailed. They're just snap together models, so there's not like a whole lot of work that goes into them. Just need a couple of, I don't know, a little clipper thing to cut them off the sprue and snap them together. And they take about 2 to 3 hours to do. And when you're done, it's just kind of like, oh, hey, that was nice and relaxing. So if you've got, $25, $30 and stumble across one of them, grab one, and they're pretty fun to put together and very posable and come with some cool like energy beam accessories and look pretty rad on your shelf, I guess. So I'm geeking out on those. I have a Piccolo figure coming sometime in the mail that I'll put together on a night where I'm feeling kind of stressed out or something. So just waiting for that. Second is local frozen pizza, Mama Basso. I think I might enjoy that more than Haggis.
Wow.
And I loved Haggis. But this company makes their crust fresh daily. The crust is really great. The toppings, they don't go crazy on the toppings like Haggis does, where it's just like 3 pounds of cheese on a pizza. It's just very well put together, and I've got a freezer full of them right now because the local grocery store had a deal for April where you can buy 4 for $10. So I stocked up and have been slowly making my way through those because I don't want to become Fat Adam again. And the last thing is a Netflix series that I hadn't heard of before, but we started watching called American Vandal.
Yes.
The hashtag Who Drew the Dicks. Oh my God, this episode 5 we watched last night, and I was laughing so hard I was crying at some of this stuff. It's kind of in the vein of a Serial, where it's pretending to take itself very, very seriously, but it's like going into a investigation of who drew the dicks on the 27 cars in the high school parking lot. It is just so brilliant in the way they present it. I haven't watched anything this funny in a really, really long time, and it's been great to just sit back and watch, like nuns farting or like nun tree humping is one of the pranks these dudes in this group pull, or baby farting or something. I don't know. It's so stupid, but yet so well done. If you haven't watched it, it's only like 8 episodes long, so I suggest checking it out. I'm very intrigued on who actually perpetrated the vandalism, because I don't think it was Dylan, but I could be wrong. I have 3 episodes left to watch. So, and just finally, life in general. I'm geeking on life in general. I'm very happy. I think since the last time I was on the show, I have my own place. I haven't been able to say that in pretty much almost a year. I'm in a really healthy, amazing relationship. And hopefully we'll be divorced by the end of the year. Because one thing I didn't know about moving to Iowa was they have a 12-month waiting period before you can file for divorce, and then a 90-day waiting period after that once you do file. So it's just like, okay, well, at least I kind of have a target date in mind when I'll finally be legally unwed. But I guess that's kind of a freaking and a geeking a little bit. But no, not a whole lot of complaints, so pretty happy with things. How about you, Corey? What are you geeking on?
First thing I am geeking on is ran across some of those adventure comics when it was $1 comic, and it's just a wonderful little snapshot of DC in the 70s. You get a Flash story by the regular Flash creative team, Irv Novak drawing the Flash, who Don Heck's Flash wasn't really somebody you look at and go, yeah, he runs fast. Irv Novak is even worse at that. He can't draw speed. But the stories are still, the Carrie Bates puzzle stories. And then you've got Green Lantern, Wonder Woman, and usually the backup changes. It's the ones I'm reading now are the wrap-up to Gary Conway's New God story, which is Gary Conway listening, Joe? Is Joe listening?
I don't think Joe's listening.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was doing terrible things to my milk duds.
Is Gary Conway listening?
Gary, you out there? No, I don't think so.
Oh my God, he did not understand the New Gods in any way, shape, or form. Ah!
Oh, hang on. I just got a text. Screw you, Strode.
No, that was from Angel.
Okay, that's just a coincidence then.
The other thing, Marvel put out they only did 1 issue of Foom, which kind of pissed me off, because I thought the way they were talking, they were going to do Foom as a regular magazine. But they did put out, they did put out a really nice hype magazine for the Fresh Start, which had interviews and prelim pages and enough that you could read it and go, okay, this looks like it's something I'd like, this looks like something I wouldn't. But I like the fact...
It's a good magazine.
I like the fact that they said, okay, we're proud enough of this stuff that we're going to show you what it is. And with so many comics coming out, I think in the new previews they said something like to buy one of every comic and book published, it would cost $90,000. It was nice to see, oh, okay, this looks good, this looks like something I like, and it's a lot like the Image Plus, where they give you a taste of what's coming so that you can kind of figure out if it's something in your wheelhouse. There's so many comics coming out, and previews is so poorly laid out that anything that helps you kind of figure out what's coming out is a good thing in my mind. The weather is good enough.
Did you like that new DC previews?
It looked just like Marvel's.
Yeah.
I would think that DC would take the opportunity to give us more of the art that's in the books and stuff that's coming up. But rumors are that DC's having a little trouble getting their artists to turn in stuff on time.
It's the 1970s all over again. It's like me trying to get that guy cough up the Wolverine commissions.
It's
he starts bringing to the con, which we'll figure it out if he does or not.
So rumors are already flying that Man of Steel's going to have some fill-in art in individual books. And the artists are throwing blame on the editors, saying they didn't give them enough lead time. The editors are saying that the artists are slow. It's like, oh, that sounds like good working conditions. My deck is now open for reading. It has been a long, cold winter, and Friday I was finally able to bring out the little Bluetooth speaker and listen to some rockabilly while reading comic books and drinking a frosty beverage. And I am looking forward to doing that a lot this summer, because God knows I got a lot of stuff to read. Oh, and I got the Byrne Omnibus, the second Byrne Fantastic Four Omnibus, and I just flipped through it because I got it cheap. I've already ordered the reprint of the first one, because I really liked the first part of his run, but I remembered that he kind of lost interest toward the end, and I'm flipping through and looking, and he lost interest about a year before he left, because I'm looking and the art is very, the inkers doing all that work, aren't they? And then in his last story arc, he just kind of left halfway through. Yeah, fuck it, I'm going over to DC to draw Superman. Roger Stern will finish it. And with Free Comic Book Day and hitting the used bookstores, I got me a big old grocery bag of cheap adventure novels to keep me happy this summer. I am looking forward to... Last summer I was just crazy busy, and the summer before that was crazy busy and then just crazy. So I am looking forward to this summer being a lot more relaxed, a lot more just kind of hanging out and enjoying the summer. I've got vacation time coming up. The group home is going to be going through some big changes, so heaven only knows what will happen with them, but I'm not working evenings there anymore. I'm just going to be doing weekends and overnights so that I have more time for me. And I cannot put into words. This is how I'm ending it. I finished the third novel cast novel, and I cannot put into words how cool it was when I got to the end and went, the end. And the story held together, and it worked, and people are happy with it. And as much as I love doing this here podcast with you guys, Novelcast is my baby. It's the thing I'm proudest of. Kind of like EC Comics. The horror stuff and Mad sold the most, but they were proudest of their science fiction books. I'm proudest of my Novelcast.
Congratulations.
Believe it or not, kids, you've listened to us blather on about Free Comic Book Day for an hour and a half.
As opposed to going out and getting your own free comics.
Yeah.
Or watching an 80s comedy.
Or you're getting all caught up on who drew the decks.
Or seeing how many milk duds you can shove in your mouth at one podcast.
Joe was trying to see how many Timbits he could shove in his mouth while driving.
They were good.
How many did you get to? 5?
I will say, Cory, this year you didn't balk at eating the ceremonial waxy donut. Because that's my thing. And after that, then we just gorged on Tim Hortons.
Yes. So, and as we say every week, kids, the comic we like the least, we still like better than the comic that you like the most. Adam?
Check out Panels and Pizza. Episode 180-something will have aired by the time this has aired. Yeah.
What's the website?
FancyPantsGangsters.com! Woo!
I just get giggly when he says fancy pants.
Yeah, you did that on purpose.
I did.
And thank you, gentlemen, for having me back on the show. I love coming on the show.
It was good having you.
And Joe?
I don't know why Marvel hasn't tried to put advertisements on the Hulk. He's essentially a giant banner.
Oh, God.
Hit my music.